Why people vote for Trump. They say in politics, liberals are the gas pedal and conservatives are the brakes. And I'm generally with the gas pedal, but not if we're driving off a cliff. On the trans issue, America is no ands, ifs, or buts about it, absolutely alone in the world now, an outlier country. Last month, England's National Health Service announced that there's not enough evidence to support the safety or clinical effectiveness of puberty blockers for third graders, and that they were going to stop fumbling around with children's privates, because that's Prince Andrew.
4 years, the woke left has treated Canada like some flawless wonderland, the snow-covered paradise they insist America should copy. But not everyone is buying that glossy postcard picture, least of all Bill Maher. In a fiery episode of Real Time with Bill Maher, he ripped into that maple-coated myth with the precision of a flamethrower. What followed was a no-holds-barred takedown that exposed the cracks behind the fantasy. Buckle up, this one hit.
Woke white college kid wearing pajama pants outdoors who'd had it up to here with America's racist patriarchy dreamt of living someday. I mean, besides Gaza. There's only one problem with thinking everything's better in Canada. It's not. Not anymore, anyway. Last year, Canada added 1.3 million people, which is a lot in 1 year, the equivalent of the U.S. adding 11 million migrants in 1 year. And now they're experiencing a housing crisis even worse than ours. And we're sleeping in tents.
Of the gate, Maher dismantles the sugary fairy tale the left spins about Canada. First up, their housing disaster. Fueled by wide-open immigration policies, the American left drools over like it's the secret recipe for success. Reality check. Canada faces a jaw-dropping 3.5 million unit housing shortage by 2030. That deficit makes California's nightmare market look tame. On top of that, 1 in 5 Canadian households spends over 30% of their income just to keep a roof overhead. Yet, the woke crowd still parades Canada around like it's paradise on earth. Maher doesn't just laugh. He burns that illusion to the...
Here is 346 grand. In Canada, converted to US dollars, it's 487. If Barbie moved to Winnipeg, she wouldn't be able to afford her dream house, and Ken would be working at Tim Hortons.
The cost of homes in Canada is brutal, enough to knock the air out of anyone. Average prices sit between $500,000 and $540,000. In hot spots like Vancouver or Toronto, the numbers explode past $750,000 and climb over $1 million without blinking. Compare that to the US, where typical homes run $350,000 to $400,000, and suddenly Canada doesn't look so dreamy. The left may chant endlessly about copying Canada's system, but let's be real. Many Americans already struggle to stay afloat. Add Canadian-level housing prices, and you're not building utopia. You're handing out eviction notices. Maher's point is sharp. Copy Canada, and you don't get affordable living, you get priced out of your own life.
Canada has the highest debt-to-GDP ratio of any G7 nation. I don't know what that means, but it sounds bad. So does their vaunted healthcare system, which ranks dead last among high-income countries in access to primary healthcare and ability to see a doctor in a day or two. And it's not for lack of spending. Of the 30 countries with universal coverage, Canada spends over 13% of its economy on it, which is a lot of money for free.
Canada's struggles are far bigger than the cheerleaders of the left want to admit. Their so-called utopia is cracking, and it's cracking fast. What makes Maher's critique sting is who it's coming from. He's not a conservative firebrand. He's a liberal who used to be the left's poster child. If someone like Maher is calling Canada out, maybe the dream isn't just fractured, it's shattered. And he's not just ranting. He's holding up a mirror to America, grinning sarcastically, asking, "You sure you want this here?" Because if Canada is the model, then America better get ready for sky-high housing costs, broken promises, and regret. And trust me, he's only getting started.
In a great country, it is, but those aren't paradise numbers. If Canada was an apartment, the lead feature might be America adjacent. And if America was a rental car, Canada would be America or similar. And again, honestly, Canada, I'm not saying any of this because I enjoy it. I don't, because I've always enjoyed you. But I need to cite you as a cautionary tale to help my country. And the moral of that tale is, yes, you can move too far left. And when you do, you wind up pushing the people in the middle.
Are secretly switching sides. Has he become a conservative? Not exactly. But this is what happens when the left spirals too far off the rails. When the progressive camp becomes so extreme that even lifelong liberals can't stomach it anymore, the pendulum naturally swings back. Look at Joe Rogan, once celebrated as the counterculture voice of the left, now attacked as right-wing simply for questioning woke dogma. Or Elon Musk, he builds electric cars and rockets, hardly a conservative resume, yet gets labeled as center-right. Maher fits the same pattern. He hasn't changed. The left has just sprinted so far off the edge that anyone standing still suddenly looks conservative by comparison.
American voters think happens when there's no one putting a check on extreme wokeness. Like the saga of Canadian shop teacher Kayla Lemieux, whose pronouns are she, her, and those. Kayla is now back to being a guy named Kerry, but 2 years ago when they showed up to teach children, the progressive high school they taught at said that they, the school, not the person. Really, you couldn't have found another word. We were using that one. Anyway, okay. They were committed to a safe environment for gender expression. Safe for who? What about the children?
This is exactly the chaos you get when society pretends identity can flip with the wind. Take the classroom example. One day, a teacher shows up in a dress, demands to be addressed as a woman, and insists everyone affirm the act. The next day, he reverts back to identifying as male, as though nothing happened. Students are left confused, unsure who's standing in front of them. That isn't education, it's theater. But instead of enlightenment, it delivers confusion. When identity becomes performance instead of reality, clarity disappears. What's left is a maze of contradictions no one can untangle.
There was once a weirdo D-list movie producer in the 60s named Russ Maher, who made low-budget B movies like Faster Pussycat Kill Kill and Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, always featuring women who look like this. His movies played in porn houses and were featured in Hustler and Playboy. Okay, fine, but who says no when it comes to humor?
Here's the kicker. All this isn't happening in some faraway lab experiment. It's unfolding right next door in Canada, the very country liberals in America hold up as the shining model of progress. But peel back the maple syrup, and you'll find sky-high housing costs crushing families, chaotic identity politics in classrooms, and policies that look more like experiments than solutions. Still, the American left stares north like love-struck teenagers, convinced Canada is a paradise. If this is utopia, then it's one built on debt, dysfunction, and delusion. Maher's message couldn't be clearer. Before demanding America copy Canada, maybe try looking at the reality. Spoiler, it's not pretty.
They say in politics, liberals are the gas pedal and conservatives are the brakes. And I'm generally with the gas pedal, but not if we're driving off a cliff. On the trans issue, America is no ands, ifs, or buts about it, absolutely alone in the world now, an outlier country. Last month, England's National Health Service announced that there's not enough evidence to support the safety or clinical effectiveness of puberty blockers for third graders, and that they were going to stop fumbling around with children's privates, because that's Prince Andrew.
Maher is absolutely right. Donald Trump's win didn't just materialize out of thin air. He won because countless Americans, even centrists and former liberals, were sick of the non-stop wokeness flooding the culture. The Democratic National Committee turned itself into a circus of identity politics, cancel culture, and virtue signaling, and voters wanted out. And it wasn't only conservatives rolling their eyes. Moderates and independents were fleeing, too. Even young people, the group Democrats thought they had locked down forever, weren't buying it. They didn't want ideological lectures. They wanted leadership. The left failed to deliver, and in doing so, they practically handed the White House to Trump.
Countries in direct opposition to America's choice to affirm children's wishes on switching gender, no matter the age or psychiatric history. The far left, which always like to use, well, Europe does it. Yeah, no, that doesn't work on this one anymore.
An irony the woke crowd hates to acknowledge. The very countries they idolize don't even fully embrace gender-affirming care for minors. Sweden, Finland, the UK, all progressive icons, have scaled back or outright restricted medical transitioning for children, citing serious risks and weak evidence. Some nations have banned it entirely until adulthood. These governments examined the data, weighed the consequences, and chose to protect kids over pleasing activists. Yet in America, the left pushes this as though the rest of the world is marching in agreement. Spoiler, they aren't. Even so-called enlightened countries know better than to gamble with children's futures in the name of ideology.
Its borders to over 1.5 million immigrants since 2010, and now 20% of its citizens are foreign-born, and its education system is tanking, and it has Europe's highest rate of gangland killings. And one result is that the far-right parties are in the government now there for the first time. To which liberals say blaming immigrants for the rising crime rate is racist. Yeah, but is it true? Of course it's true. It's not a coincidence the quality of life went down after the Somali gangs started a drug turf war using hand grenades. Calling it racist doesn't solve the problem. It hands future elections to someone who will solve the problem and who, I promise, you're not.
Open the borders to anyone and everyone isn't compassion. It's chaos. And we're living with the fallout. Fentanyl smuggling and use have skyrocketed under Biden, flooding towns with one of the deadliest drugs in existence. This isn't about small inconveniences. It's about families torn apart, kids overdosing in school bathrooms, and entire communities devastated. The numbers are staggering, but the heartbreak is worse. The left frames it as kindness, but what kind of kindness buries loved ones before their time? Maher's bottom line is clear. If America can't secure its borders, it can't protect its people. And without protection, peace collapses into chaos. That's the bigger point of Maher's takedown. It isn't just comedy, it's truth. From housing to gender confusion to border breakdowns, the so-called utopia crumbles fast. America doesn't need Canada's blueprint. It needs sanity, leadership,